Hello, Internet. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you in advance for all the great comments that I've had over the last few weeks. I really appreciate it. Would really appreciate any of you lovely people who haven't hit that subscribe button to do so immediately. This is the very best way you can help me make more content like this, so thank you. Last week I sailed across the slot. This week I'm driving back in the same direction. Okay, got my bike strapped down in the back. I'm about to jump on the 101 going north, and I'm gonna head up to Vallejo, where I'm gonna drop off my truck and stop in and say hello and get some paperwork sorted, get a lay of the land, and then I'm gonna ride my bike to the ferry terminal, and I'm gonna hop on a ferry and I'm gonna come back to Oyster Point. So I'll be all ready to sail up there in a couple of days. That's the plan. What I didn't explain in the truck is that the marina there in Vallejo was going to be Dagny's new home. I had to return to Washington State soon, and I wanted to leave Dagny somewhere, well, you know, different than Oyster Cove. Somewhere cheaper, basically. Let's just say it's priced very competitively. From the nearby bridge to Mare Island, you can get a good reconnoiter of the Vallejo Municipal Marina's small entrance, guarded by the Mare Island Strait, which often has swift tidal currents. Also, I was informed that there were some shallow spots just inside the marina gate, so that it was best to arrive there on or around high tide. Since I had my e-bike, I cycled across onto Mare Island to have a look at some of the new developments over there. Mare Island has recently taken on stewardship of two lovely old vessels that need a little love. First up was the C.A. Thayer, built in 1895. She's 156 feet long and 36 feet at the beam. She has a draft of 11 feet, and she was a lumber schooner. Then there was the Belclutha. Not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but it's fun to say. So the Belclutha was built in 1886. She's 301 feet long from bowsprit to stern. The Belclutha was built as a general cargo vessel and could be handled by a crew of 30 or less. Now the crew looks like about 3, so they each have plenty of work to do. Plenty of work. Lots and lots of work. In front of all this work happening was a different kind of work, a work of art. A lovely rhinoceros made of metal bits. This was a giant chess piece that shared similar rivet techniques used by the Belclutha behind it. This lovely mermaid reminded me that I needed to get back to Dagny and get this show on the road.
4 to 6 weeks later.
I had just tested all this out a few days earlier when I'd sailed to Paradise Cove and back, so I knew that it would all fit. Here I am tying my bike down for the journey. Okay. It's time to do a chart update. So of course there is San Francisco and San Francisco Bay, and that's the Golden Gate Bridge. This is the North Bay, this is the South Bay, this is Berkeley. Here in Oyster Point, head north and catch the current going back up into the slot area. We'll go underneath the Richmond Bridge, scooted across to get to China, is it called China Camp? Called China Camp. That was a rather rough chart update. Truth be told, it was filmed later that day. I forgot to film it before leaving. If it didn't make any sense, then allow me to clarify. I'm leaving Oyster Point for good, heading north to Vallejo, but I'm doing it over 2 days, and my first stop is a place called China Camp. Well, I made it out safely from the marina. Didn't get run over or anything, which is good. Now that I'm out here, it looks like there's little to no wind. I mean, I could throw up a sail and just kind of like have them flapping around, but I think I'm just going to keep them down and continue motoring. The reason I left when I left was because I've got a running tide, and I got a big current helping me out for the first half of this journey. I knew today was going to be kind of a slow day, or I think it's going to be a slow day. What I anticipate is there's going to be some wind in the slot. Maybe a few of these little fingers will have some wind, but today is supposed to be pretty calm, so we'll see what it's like out there. I'm going to leave the sails packed away until we turn the corner up here and I can see what the slot's going to be like. Right now, I actually just lowered the speed of the motor just because I feel like I'm going to get to the slot a little too early. I'm looking over the horizon right now, and it looks like it's like really cloudy and a lot of fog banks and stuff like that, and I don't really know how confident I am in dealing with that, so I wanted to give it a bit more time, slow down here at the beginning, and get to the slot just a little bit later. Maybe some of that will have burned off by then, and it'll be easier to navigate. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
298 frozen patties later.
All right, so I'm creeping towards the city right now, and I've decided to change my angle a little bit. I was going to go on the left side underneath the San Francisco Bay Bridge, but this time I'm going to go to the right, or to starboard, I should say, and I'm going to go on the far side of Treasure Island. I think I'm going to throw up some sail. I'm going to keep it reefed way down. I'm going to throw up a double reef main. See how that works first. I don't want to find myself in a situation where I'm completely overpowered. I'm not in a huge hurry to get where I'm going, so I'm going to take it slow. Here's a super sped up shot of me raising my sails. I wonder what the YouTube hive mind thinks of my sequence here. First, I set the auto helm with Dagny's nose pointing straight into the wind. In this case, I got her almost straight into the wind, which will do, and went forward to raise the main. I was told to raise the main first and then the head sail. Is that correct? Maybe somebody in the comments can let me know. Once the main was done and dusted, I turned my attention to the head sail, which is still run to the cockpit. And we were off to the races. This is perfect. I think I set my sails at the perfect time. So yeah, I don't know if you can see from that angle, but there's Treasure Island right on our port side over here. I kind of think this is going to be my sail plan for the rest of the day, because again, I'm not really in a big hurry. I'm not looking to get out here and stress test the boat and have everything down below flying around, you know. It's like I'm not out here sailing for just a hobby. I'm moving my house. And I want to make sure my house gets to its new location safely, so.
One debt to society later.
All right, I got the motor back on. So my sailing didn't last very long, but so we may end up motoring a lot more today, but right now my plan is just to motor on the other side of Treasure Island. I've always wanted to go over there anyway, so even though we're motoring, oh well. I'm about to go underneath the San Francisco Bay Bridge from a different angle. Very curious what it's like. It looks like there's, I mean, I'm under motor right now because we're in the wind shadow of Treasure Island itself. But it looks like there's good steady wind coming up here shortly, and I think I'll be able to get the motor off and check out that bridge. You've got to admit, California's got some really great bridges. This is the newly completed half of the Bay Bridge. Once I got under the bridge and past the wind shadow of Treasure Island, the wind filled in to what I'd have to guess as around 20 knots. Treasure Island stretches north for about a half a mile or so, but nothing on it is very tall, and it doesn't interfere with the wind. But it does flatten out the water dramatically, making for a nice, fast sail. I'm leaving this long shot in because first, it's just a cool shot and it's my channel and I'll show what I want to. And second, I think it's interesting to see R2-D2, my Raymarine auto helm, wobbling back and forth as she goes along. Maybe someone in the comment knows how to adjust my R2 unit. It's a Raymarine auto, I don't even know what number it is, but it's just a basic ubiquitous Raymarine auto helm and I have no idea how to use it. Here I am doing some hand steering. Look how light the tiller is. I can steer her along with only 2 fingers. Okay, we popped out the other side of Treasure Island. You can see Alcatraz behind me. Out in the open, roughly dead center of the slot, the waves and chop were larger, but Dagny cut through with ease. I don't have many other sailing experiences to compare Dagny's characteristics to. In my uneducated opinion though, Dagny sails real fine. That fog bank that I was so concerned about earlier wasn't fog at all. It was just low clouds stacking up around the Golden Gate, now dissipating fast overhead. The further north that I got, the more the wind backed to my stern. By the end of it, the wind had fallen off and was now coming what was left of it from directly behind me. This meant that my tiny double-reefed main was blocking the headsail. So I ended up hauling in the main so that it didn't block the headsail, and we carried on towards Red Rock and the Richmond Bridge. I was getting very close to China Camp, maybe another couple of miles to go. I was debating whether or not to get the engine going. We weren't moving very fast, but we were still moving. All right, so we made it to the other side of the Richmond Bridge, and the wind is pretty much dead completely. It's really interesting though, looking back at the city, you can see this huge fog layer that's blown in over the city. So the city is all gray. Where I just came from is all gray. I'll turn the camera on because I thought I was going to change up the sails, but I'm going to keep it going for a minute and see how. Okay, I got some obstacles in the water, and I got my wind is from directly behind me. Going through these obstacles, I want to make sure that I have some power. So I think I'm just going to tap on. We're in a lot of current right now, so I want to make sure that I have enough oomph to get back in if I need to. So I'm just debating whether or not to start the engine. It's so nice not having the engine on. It's there for safety. I think this is a wonderful example of one of the main obstacles you will face if you ever find yourself out on a boat alone. You will have to decide whether to go left or right, and you'll have to decide whether the sails are up or down, and most importantly, you'll have to make that decision all by yourself. It is rather stressful, I do admit, but it's also perhaps my favorite thing about sailing, and that is that it's real. It's not up for debate. There's no such thing as a postmodern sailor. Here I applied the rule, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, as I was still moving in the right direction under sail alone. When I had gotten past the obstacles off to my port side, I went forward to prepare the anchor. While underway, the anchor is secured by a pin, which needs to be released in order to drop the anchor from the cockpit. The wind really stiffened when I got close to the actual anchorage. At this point, I had already committed to sailing all the way to anchor, but was expecting less wind, not more wind. When I had reached the spot that I had previously picked out on Navionics, I rounded up into the wind and got ready to roll up the flappy headsail. Then, I just had to remember where I'd left the anchor butt. With the wind and current pushing back against us, the anchor dug in quickly. Once I felt confident that Dagny was well dug in and not going anywhere, I could go forward to bring down the main. And that's where we'll leave this one. Much like my previous trip, I was properly worn out at this point and didn't accomplish any adventuring after setting the hook. I had a beer, I warmed up some food, I was asleep by 8, I think. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, share it with your friends. I really, really appreciate it. Tune in next time to find out if I make it to Vallejo. It is the morning after. My dinghy is all wrapped up and going the wrong direction. I don't know what it's doing. That was like a sturgeon that was like that big. This is definitely like the most wild situation I've been in so far. Thankfully I can see where the Mare Island Strait starts. Again, thanks for watching. Adios, Internet. I'll see you on the next one.